найкраще, чим ми виглядаємо на шоу. Я думаю, що ми не будемо ніяко, щоб не гаяти часу робити вступного слова. Всі знають, куди і для чого прийшли. Я щиро вдячний компанії Microsoft за можливість сьогодні побачити одного керівників, який відповідає в тому числі за нашу з вами країну, за продукти Microsoft. Будь ласка.
Hi. I guess you can hear me. Yes. So sorry for being late. I was at the minister, actually, the Minister of Education, and she kept talking. And at a certain moment I thought, look, I'm going away because I want to see your students. So here I am. So if I speak too fast, let me know. Not that I'm going to speak slower, but anyway, here's an idea. But I guess your English is pretty okay. So I'm used to walking around, which I can't do today, but anyway, I'll stand here. So welcome to this session. I'm happy to be here. It's my first time in my life in Ukraine. I landed last Saturday, I think. And it's very funny because I've seen many ministers today, I've seen many CEOs of companies, some other people the last days. And it's very funny when you get into a new country, which you've probably done. You are always kind of pre-programmed what you're going to see. And I can tell you, the image I had from Ukraine when I came here and what I have today is kind of different. It's much more positive. I think it's, I mean, I've only been in Kiev, of course, but it's a pretty interesting city, and all of you are pretty excited. But if I go back to Dubai, where I live, 2 days' time, people are going to ask me, what do you think of Ukraine? I'm going to say, wow, a lot of entrepreneurs, very happy people, you have a future, you look forward, you're very excited. I think we have some challenges with the government to fix some reforms and everything, but anyway, we can all work on that. So I'm Michael. I run CE Multicountry. You probably want to know what is CE Multicountry for Microsoft. It's 15 countries going through the Baltics. I always call it ex-Yugoslavia. You know, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro. If I tell people over there, they hit me in the face. But it's easy because everybody knows what it is. And Bulgaria, and then since this year, Ukraine as well. So that's why I'm here for the first time. I've been in Microsoft for a long time. Thank you very much. I've been in Microsoft for a long time, 14, 15 years. So I'm an old guy. I know, but I don't feel old. So when they asked me a few days ago, can you do a presentation? I said, yes, of course. I love to present, especially for students. I do lectures actually at London Business School, in Rotterdam University. I love to present. So anyway, so this is me. This is me in my non-suit version. I don't like suits, to be honest, but I have to wear suits because my job forces me to wear suits. You hardly see me wearing a tie. I have a tie in my bag. If I need to wear it, I wear it, but normally I forget to wear it. I don't like ties. Anyway, don't say that in the private world of Croatia, because that's why they invented the ties. Anyway, I've been in Microsoft for a long time. I've got many different things. I'm Dutch. I'm Belgian, actually. I was born in the Netherlands. I live in Dubai. But I probably live in the AK-138, which is the Emirates flight. Because I live in planes. I mean, I travel most of my time. I spend 200 nights a year in hotels, kind of. So that's where I live. So, I mean, I've done many different things in my life. Before I came to Microsoft, basically I'm a consultant. And I like to present, like I said. So one thing I want to learn you, I also want to learn you a little bit versus a funny story. So I'm going to talk about digital transformation. And many of you probably think what is that about, but there's a lot of people here, so I'm not sure why you're here. Is there free drinks after this session or something? Or you're here to learn something? It's kind of interesting. I will be on the terrace sitting in the sun probably, but anyway. So I'm going to learn you a few things today. I'm going to give you my view of digital transformation. Don't expect the Microsoft Azure story or Office 365 or coding for dummies, because I can't code myself. It's more about the business version of the world changing. It's interesting to speak to you. I have 2 kids. One of them is 7, my son, my daughter. The other one is 9. He was 9 the last time I saw him 4 weeks ago. And they are from a different generation. You are from a different generation than me. Which is kind of weird. How many of you remember a world without internet? I do. This guy does, for sure. We do. 2 of us. And it's very funny that the world has changed. You know as well, I think. Raise your hands. It's always interesting for me to understand the audience. So I presented in many countries in the world. I was responsible for Microsoft Global Strategy for a couple of years, and I traveled to 63 countries in a few years. And every time we present, Every culture is different. If you're in the Netherlands and you ask people something, can you? Yeah, it's me. Without asking for the question. If you present in Saudi Arabia, you have a whole room with people in those white wristbands sitting there looking at you like, if you leave the room, I'm going to kill you. And I don't know what you are today. I mean, I ask questions, raise your hands, it's okay. I'm not going to give away prizes or something. But anyway. So, one thing I learned at McKinsey a long time ago, this is basically how you present it. This is kind of a lesson for you. I mean, you were here to learn, I guess. This is kind of your intensity. So the way you look at me, you think that this is interesting. This is the time. The next 30, 45 minutes. Depends how excited I get, how long I talk. So it could be that we finish at 9. We'll see. But one thing which is kind of proven by scientists is that you are here. The more I talk, your attention goes up, hopefully, and at a certain moment it goes down. Because then you start to think about beer and food and whatever, you know? And so everybody, many of you have presented like this, have you? Not. How old are you? 12? Did you ever present? Somebody presented in his life? Must be. You must present at school here, university. Not? Not yet. And 17, well, you can present. You should present. My son makes PowerPoints like that since 9. All the time. My daughter lives in a PowerPoint world. She makes PowerPoints about everything. She sees a cat, she makes a PowerPoint presentation about cats. But anyway, if you go to the business world and watch it, if other of my colleagues come over here, people always present and they talk and blah, 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 blah. And over here they say, and the 10 points to remember are, nobody's here anymore, they're gone. So if you want to land a message, put it in the middle. So for me, if you're not interested in my story, come back at slide 16. Then you have my story. So go now, come back at slide 16 and go home. Then you have kind of the same story as sitting here all the time. Anyway, so let me get it a little bit serious. So, I mean, if you're in the business world, I don't think it's only a business world. The world has changed. If you're a company these days, you have challenges. Man, life was easy in the old days. You would have a shop, people would come and buy your shop because you were the only shop selling something. Now you have the internet, competitors, other shops. Things are happening. You have to, if you're a company, my big challenge in Microsoft is not selling software or cloud services. My challenge in Microsoft is to keep my people motivated and to keep my people in the company. Because there's a lot of competition. They try to hire my best guys, they try to screw my customers and all of this. So I have to continuously be creative. I have to continuously change, however, I have to continuously inspire my customers. That's why I'm here. You're going to be my future customers, so I have to inspire you. Whenever you think about Microsoft, you're going to think about me, hopefully. If there's a good guy, let's buy him. How many of you are using Microsoft software legally? A few. You can actually get it for free, so we talk to the university, because we got it for free. All of you, so that's okay. Anyway, there's a lot of challenges. And if you're in a company, you need to be ready for those challenges. And companies more and more need to be responsive to what's happening around them. I'm going to talk about things happening in the world, and you know better. But man, the world has changed the last years. And I hope you agree, even if you're 17, the last 17 years things are different. I'm from the generation who didn't have mobile phones. You all have mobile phones. You probably have two if I look at the numbers of Ukraine, because there's more mobile phones in Ukraine than people. Which is also interesting. There's 49 million mobile phones, there's 49 Ukrainians. So some of you have two phones. And it's very funny, because I was walking with my son in the Dubai Mall a year ago. So the guy's now in New York, there we shop. And he sees this thing hanging on the wall. It's a public phone. We still have them here as well, I noticed. He asked me, Daddy, what is this? So I looked at him, are you fooling me? He said, no. I said, that's a phone. Stupid question. He said, well, why is this phone so big? I looked at him, are you fooling me? The guy was serious. And he said, why can't you take this phone with you? That's a fair point. And if you think about how the world has changed, which is probably less relevant for you, but for me, man, I get over 300 emails a day. And not stupid mails, but real mails from people in my team and all this stuff. I mean, I manage 600 people or something. And they all send me mails and blah, blah, blah. I didn't get 600 phone calls in the days before email, Trust me. But if you're a company, you get more and more information loads over you. You have to be fast to respond. I mean, if you guys order something online, which you probably do, you expect it to be in your home probably the same day or at latest the day afterwards. I can tell you, 15 years ago it would take 4 weeks to get something. It was okay as well. So the world's changing very fast. And if you look at this is some statistics we made. It's kind of interesting. So basically what is this? This is the cost of devices. You can't read it very well, but the bottom one is the cost of a mobile phone in 2007. for $99. Today it's 10. And it goes on and on. And this is an interesting one. This is the time a company takes a company to get to $1 billion value. So, you know, a typical Fortune 500 company took them 20 years to get to $1 billion. Google did 8. Xiaomi did 2. That's the Snapchat guys, so you know, probably know Snapchat, I guess. 2 years to become $1 billion. So the world's changing very, very fast. And it's before your time, it's also before my time. We went through a lot of industrial revolutions the last years. Not the last years, the last 200-300 years. It started with steam. People invented electricity, so everybody had its own steam machine. Then a smart guy said, hey, instead of having your own steam machine, I know this is before your days, but you probably get into this during your university years. Somebody said, hey, instead of having a steam machine in every factory, I build a big steam machine and make electricity for everybody. I think about the internet, I think about cloud computing. Everybody has its own server, and Microsoft, hey, you know what? Why don't we build one data center with 100,000 servers and make it the server for everybody? Things are changing very fast. We went into IT automation. I know we're talking to the wrong people because you weren't there in 1969. That's my birth year. Now you can calculate how old I am, or young. And what's happening now, and we call it the fourth industrial revolution, there's a kind of blurring between physical and digital. So you are always online. I mean, let's assume you're at home tonight, you feel sick after my presentation. So you start looking, Dutch guy presenting, feeling sick. Maybe there's a connection between that. In the US, 63% of the kids below 12 trust the internet more than their parents. So if they are ill or they have a question, they go to the internet. And dad says, no, you're okay. They think, no, the internet says I'm not okay. I'm going to die. You know what I mean? So the world's changing fast. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I mean, and if you look at companies, so if you want to work at a company today, I mean, I had many meetings with some of your customers today. I had a meeting with the biggest electricity company of the Ukraine. And this guy asked me, the CEO, yeah, I want your help because we're thinking a 5-year strategy. And I told the guy, I said, what is your 5-year strategy? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Yeah, we want to be efficient. I told him, I don't think you'll be an electricity provider in 5 years. He said, why not? I think there will be other guys who are not even in the electricity business today who will kick you out of the market with better service or faster responses, that kind of stuff. Things are changing very fast. And every company I speak to, they realize this. They realize that you cannot get away with being a grocery selling bread to students. If you don't give a damn, to not use the right word, you don't give a damn why you buy your bread, right? Do you? If it's A, B, or C, you don't care. In the old days, you always go to A. You had a customer for life. That's over. You have a customer for 20 seconds. And if you're not able to retain that customer by using the right things, you're going to lose that customer forever. So, and you can say, yeah, that's not for everybody. It is for everybody. We did a lot of research in McKinsey. Every industry is ready to change, and every industry will change. And you're probably at the right time in university now, because you're going to be changing the companies you're going to work into. At Microsoft, and I can do some advertisements as well. If you're ready with school, with university, call us. We hire you. Not all of you, of course. Well, maybe we can. But I'm really a big fan. We spend a lot of time on university hiring. Every year we hire many university graduates. And you guys don't know anything. You think you know everything when you graduate. You don't know anything. But that's okay. We'll teach you. Why? Because I think you bring in new blood into a company. You are fresh. You have different ideas. You treat IT, internet completely different than me. I'm on Facebook for sure. If you use it differently, if you're still on Facebook, you're probably not on Facebook anymore. You left Facebook when I discovered that you left, I guess. Anyway, so, and then there's a number of interesting things happening. I mean, how many of you have a mobile phone? Not many. I don't believe that. That's Ukrainian. Are you forced to be here? Okay. No, okay. A tablet. No way. I have tablets in my car, I sell them. There's a lot of mobile devices. The power I have in my phone, yes, it's an Android phone, don't worry. Yeah, this guy's an Android phone, that's weird. Is he really from Microsoft? No, I am from Microsoft. It runs Microsoft services. But this thing has more computing power than the Apollo 13. Eh? This stupid thing. You can go to the moon with this thing if you, I don't know. Anyway, so mobile devices. Then there's the Internet of Things. You all heard about the Internet of Things. I don't know what it is, I'll talk about it a little bit later. What is here? Big data. Customers always come to you, what is this big data thing? I said, instead of just using the data the right way, I'll talk about it. Then the cloud computing. And I can tell you, these are the 4 big things my customers talk about with me every day. What can we do? How can we be more competitive? So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. And to be fair, I mean, for me it's not changing the world. It's just by seeing things differently you can change the world. It's not about doing new things completely new, stopping your business doing something radically different. No, it's about seeing the world in a different view, thinking differently. That's what I love in my job. I go to customers who have business problems. I know a little bit about IT and solutions and stuff. When we sit together, we make magic. Because we help them do things differently. Let me give you a few examples so you know them. Uber is here. I tried to get an Uber taxi yesterday, but there's probably one taxi in Ukraine or something because the taxi was not available. Uber is the largest taxi company of the planet. The largest taxi company of the planet. They don't have any taxis. Sales. They don't own taxis. You know Skype, I guess? I hope. So we are the biggest telecom operator of the planet, Microsoft. We don't own any telecom lines. Talk to the local telcos here. We are their biggest competitor. And they don't even realize it. It's very funny. I meet them. Yeah, you have to partner. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure. Netflix, biggest cinema on the planet. They don't have any theaters. Sorry? Netflix, yeah. And then Facebook, they own Facebook. They're the biggest content publisher of the planet, but they don't own any content. I can go on and on and on. These are all companies. Nobody saw coming. In Dubai, you even have a Uber chopper. So you can book a helicopter. I never tried it, it's probably pretty expensive, but there's a helicopter that comes to a place you can go with a helicopter somewhere. Somebody told me yesterday it would be good for here because with the roads and everything. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff happening. Does that make sense? So, there's 4 things happening in companies at the moment. Every company I speak to, big or small, the grocer around the corner or the biggest government entity, they have 4 kind of issues. It's customer experience. How do we make our customers come back? How do we change the way we do business with them? And it could be hospitals, could be fuel stations, could be groceries, could be bakeries, I don't care. It's about talent skills, that's you. How do you make sure you get the right people? Like I said before, I have issues finding the right people. Even in Ukraine. The people are not there. There's a war for talent, which is good news for you because you're the talent, so they will fight for you. Operating models are changing. Airbnb, that's another one. Uber. Things are changing fast. And then last, business models are changing. Skype, I mean, you're a telco, and you don't make money with your minutes anymore because Microsoft has this product running on your networks for free. When I travel, I mean, I don't know how many of you still use your phone for phone calls. I don't, it's very funny. I could live without the phone capability of my phone. It sounds very weird. I use Skype all the time for everything, everywhere I am, because it's much cheaper to make phone calls. So, let me talk about those things. So when I talk to customers, I try to be a little bit scientific, otherwise I can't present it, but I also have some fun, don't worry. If I talk to customers, they all say, yeah, we agree. Great. And then I tell them, you have to change, my friend. Because then I go to, I had a meeting with the Ministry of Education today about schools of the future, so K-12, which is kind of 12 plus schools, so that's new a few years ago. And I had a meeting with about kind of how can we change, how can we help change the education system in Ukraine by doing more digital, online, all that stuff. And I came with some ideas and stuff. And then you could see her kind of going on with saying, yeah, I'm not sure. I said, why don't you change the way you do the whole schooling setup? The modeling, the budgeting. They budget per school, so why don't you budget per student? I had a meeting with the Minister of Economics earlier this morning. I said, the whole document, you have a lot of paper in this country. A lot of documents in bureaucracy. It surprised me. My general manager, Nadia, yesterday, she was signing a document this big. When I came into the office, I said, what are you doing? You're selling Microsoft? She said, no, I'm transferring money to the US. I thought, wow. So I went to the Minister of Economics and said, instead of buying document management systems, why don't we build a service where you pay per document? We are looking at setting up services where you pay per email you send. So if you send 1 email, you pay for 1 email. If you send 100 emails, you pay for 100 emails. And you can kind of laugh at me, but it's a way of differently thinking about things. But before you can change, you need to know where you go, a vision of the future. You need to have a desire to change. And some people I speak to want to change everything. Some people say, yeah, well, I'm not sure. And I think that's an issue having some of your sectors at the moment. That some people kind of say, okay, I've got 10 years before I retire, just leave me alone. And then the first practical step, that's a formula for change, and it works for everything. And then, another thing I tell people, they say, yeah, you're the science fiction guy. Well, I'm not. I mean, everything is here, it's just not evenly distributed. I worked a lot in Africa. I can tell you, Africans, man, they have ideas. They're crazy. They come up with stuff you never thought of before. The issue is they don't have an infrastructure. Sometimes I wish I could move that infrastructure to Africa and take it from Ukraine. Move it to Africa. They will do stuff with it, eh? I'm just kidding. Don't shoot me, eh? The first people are leaving, they saw this is the slide, right. So let me talk about some of the customer experience things. Eh? I mean, how many of you heard about HoloLens? Nobody, few. What do you guys study? Or pretend to study? You in the biological stuff or something? Like business? IT? It's a mix. You don't study, you happen to be here. Okay. So, I think, talking about customer experience, it's not being nice to your customer. It's about changing the way you interact with your customers, changing the world of the customers. And I think there will be a lot of new natural interfaces coming. I mean, how many of you have a band? There's one there, those bands, watches, all that stuff. Track your heart rate and all that stuff. It's kind of interesting. Yesterday I have this Tom running watch. I try to run sometimes. I know you can't see it, but I didn't run for a while. I have a very unhealthy life. I try to eat in hotels all week. I try to eat decently. It's not possible. But anyway, and then you have meetings with customers who want to drink wine and get drunk on my expense and all that stuff. But anyway, I have this Tom watch, and then I found I had downloaded the software for my phone, and then I also found an application to teach your Tom watch. So I thought, what is that? So you can kind of say that, I run 42 kilometers in 1 hour and 5 minutes. You can show it to your friends. Look how an advanced runner I am. Anyway, so there will be things coming. It's wearables, motion sensing technology. Anybody with an Xbox? With Kinect? You can talk to the things and do that stuff. That's coming. I mean, voice recognition. Some of you have an iPhone. There's one there. You use Siri. Does she ever speak to you? I have an iPhone as well, but she never says anything to me. They're not interesting or something. But anyway, and then holographic computing. And I want to show you a little video. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I think so. Let me show you a video about what we are doing with HoloLens. And just use your imagination when you look at this. What it can do. Not only show, it's there today, you can buy them. We're developing, actually in Korea as well, we're developing, many companies see the potential of this and they start to develop applications. But I leave that up to you yourself. Even the army is using HoloLens in the US. Do you hear this? So you're going to think this is science fiction, but this is here today. Not with me in my pocket, but I mean, I walked around with this thing, I can tell you it's scary. It's really scary. It's very weird to walk around and see things which are not there. And imagine drinking a virtual beer with your friend somewhere in the US. You can see each other, you can talk to each other. I mean, there's two guys from the army here, I guess. I'm not sure what you are. You're here to protect me? But I'm just kidding. But the US Army is using this to simulate battlefield stuff. So they walk over the battlefield before they go there. They go into houses before they go in there to rescue hostages or whatever. And if you just start thinking about the stuff you can do with this, I mean, we have in the US, we have in our research center, we have how we call it, the house of the future, where we kind of test those things. We have the kitchen. So you come home, you want to cook. You don't know how to cook. There's this virtual guy standing there helping you to cook. This is amazing for you, like I said. You don't have to go to McDonald's anymore. It's kind of interesting, eh? A lot of things happening there, and it's going so fast. My son wants one of these when he saw this video, because he's a big Minecraft guy. Give me one of these, can I have one of these? And I mean, I agree that the model, the thing is not very handy, because you would all be sitting, but to be fair, I would have been on time for this meeting if all of you had a HoloLens, because I could have just stayed in the office. You could have done it virtually, you could have stayed in bed watching me. Anyway, so operating models, but changing your business, optimize your business. I mean, cloud computing is not new for you, but many customers I speak to, they say, cloud is cloud. I tried to explain about cloud to my grandmother a few years ago. I gave up, what's cloud? Is it there? Anyway, she doesn't get it. But cloud changes the world very fast. And I mean, it's interesting to tell you, but I mean, years ago, 10, 15 years ago, if you had a company in Ukraine and you want to sell your software or whatever you make somewhere else in the world, you had to open an office somewhere, get a presence, get people there, blah, 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 and sell. It costs money, expensive. Now you have an internet. You just translate it in the right language and start selling your stuff. That's just a stupid example of cloud. But there's many of them. I mean, cloud changes the way companies look at IT. In the old days, if you had 100 users, you had to have IT capacity for 100 people. That makes sense. Does it? Nowadays, if there's 100 users, they were not in the office at the same time. Probably 25 people were in the office at the same time using this server. The other ones were doing something else. So guys, basically 75% of your computing time not being used, but you still have to have it for the peak, in the case everybody comes to the office. The cloud can help you with those things, because it can scale. It's pay as you go. I mentioned kind of you send me pay per email. We have programs with customers where they only pay for the software they use and the amount of time they use it. So if they spend 10 minutes in project, they pay for 10 minutes. Cloud is always there, unlimited capacity, and it helps you focus on your business, because in my whatever years, I never saw a company who had in their mission statement, we want to do IT. They use IT to bake cookies, or grow bananas, or whatever they do. You know what I mean? IT is a tool, it's not a me. And sometimes I meet companies where they say, yeah, IT, and I think, what do? You do IT? No, we don't, we make cookies. So why do you talk about IT all the time? How can you make faster cookies, nicer cookies, bigger cookies, tastier cookies? Well, we can help with that. Let me give you an example on cloud. You know, anybody understands American football? You do. I have to speak to you, you know a lot. I mean, I've been in the US many times, and I still don't understand what the game is. But I can tell you one story. I was in the US a few years ago in Seattle, where our headquarters is, on a Sunday. So I came with the British Airways flight on Sunday afternoon. And I thought, okay, let's go shopping, because that's what you do there. So I went to the mall, and there was nobody in the mall. The streets were empty. I thought, okay, it's the Third World War started or something, and they forgot to warn me or something. And then I passed the bar. The bar was crowded with people. They were watching the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl is kind of like the UEFA Champions League for American soccer, American football, they call it. And the interesting thing is, this thing has a break. Like soccer, they have a break after 45 minutes or whatever. And this break, maybe that's the most expensive commercial time on the planet. You pay $1 million per second or something. And companies fight to be there. Last year we were there as well. It was way easier money, I think, but anyway. Especially if you know what's happening. Basically what happens, the Americans, they eat a lot. They like pizza. So what they do, in the break of the Super Bowl, while all those companies are thinking they're watching TV, and they think they reach hundreds of thousands of millions of Americans, they all go to the telephone and order a pizza. Or to the website and order a pizza. So Domino's Pizza, they have this kind of peak. So think about cloud, they sell 100 pizzas an hour. In the Super Bowl Sunday, they sell 1 million pizzas in 15 minutes. And then the rest of the year they sell 100 pizzas an hour. So if they want to do IT to support for the million, to make sure that their website is online and can still ship the pizzas, it would be an expensive hobby, because they have to buy IT for 1 million pizzas and only use it 15 minutes a year. Make sense? So with the cloud, they came to us and said, hey, can you help us? So we give them 15 minutes of unlimited computing time, and they pay for 15 minutes. And the rest of the year they don't look at us. And everybody can order a pizza. And all those people, they think they make money. Another example from Bulgaria. I don't know if anyone of you goes to the gym. Sometimes, no? Okay. Whatever. There's this guy's gym room. It's a sports school. It's a gym in Sofia. I met them. It's very funny. So they have the gym. And they have people coming there reserving trainers and all that stuff. If you're serious, you kind of reserve your classes of spinning or whatever you do. You want to have a weightlifting training. And so they built this little app for their customers so they can reserve online and then say, I mean, there are 5, help me. And after a while, they got requests from other gyms in the world, first in Bulgaria, hey, can we use your app as well? I said, yeah, sure. So they started renting out their app to other gyms. And then they thought, that's interesting, let's go to Germany. And now they're the #1 gym software provider in the cloud for gyms. It's very funny. Those guys don't make money with gym anymore, they make money with their software. Total change of their business model. Unexpectedly. And that's what cloud can do. Are you still with me? Or is it getting boring? Let me know. If you say, come on, hurry up, I can go to slide 20. So, Internet of Things. I talked about the Internet of Things. I mean, if I speak to customers, it's the new buzzword. You will see, you'll have buzzwords in your study career. Digital transformation is a buzzword consultants use these days. Internet of Things is the other one. And I always think it's because, I don't know, they need to be busy or something. Every few years there's a few new buzzwords. So cloud was a buzzword a few years ago, that's normal now. Internet of Things is a new one. Now I speak to customers and they ask me, what is Internet of Things? I mean, it's big. It's about data. If you look at the amount of devices in this room now, and the amount of data you produce while you're not doing anything, some of you are playing games. I'll share the slides, by the way. Yeah? You can make pictures of me, that's okay. But slides I'll share freely, it's okay, it's not a secret or something. So, there's so much data here. You know a cat or a dog? Anybody has a cat or a dog? Yeah. You know what dogs do? They walk around and they pee. Everywhere. You know they do that all the time. Why do they do that? To mark their territory. You know that you today, probably not 300 times now, but on average you leave 300 traces a day. 300 traces a day of data. Now, today, yesterday, the day before. 300 pieces of data, which is traceable way up. Your mobile phone continuously broadcasts where you are. It's very handy for the police and for your girlfriend. See where you are, or boyfriend. You use your bank card. They know you're at the bank. You use your email somewhere, you logged into the university, you use Wi-Fi somewhere, you leave so many traces. And imagine all the whatever billion people on the planet doing the same trick. It's a tremendous amount of data. The sad thing is that this data is owned by the telco for the telco part, it's owned by the bank card for the bank company for the bank part, it's owned by the university for the Wi-Fi in the university. The moment you start to combine all this data, then the Internet of Things comes in. There's a lot of people talking about it, like, oh, it's noisy. Many people don't know what to do. They don't know how to use it, they don't know what to do with it. Customers come to me and say, let's talk about the Internet of Things. I say, oh, there's another one who read an article somewhere in the weekend who wants to know what it is. For me, it's nothing new. It's been there for ages. It's just about starting to use the data. Let me give you a few examples. Internet of Things. This is a mirror. It's not me, I'm not that pretty. But it's a mirror. So we have mirrors who recognize who I am. We have them not in production, we have them in our research labs. So I stand in the mirror in the morning, and this mirror will look at me and say, okay, this is Michael. And he looks at my calendar automatically. The mirror can say, hey, he has access to my calendar. So sometimes we have these meetings today, you're going to present at students, you're overdressed to present to students. But okay, you have to go to the Minister of Education as well, so it's better you wear a tie. Oh, Michael, by the way, you don't wear brown shoes with a blue suit. You need to be black shoes with a blue suit. So it starts to give me tips. And it's sad for ladies because that's the thing in the morning. The husband comes down, it's a lovely tie. You know, that's over these days. It's going to advise me. It's going to tell me as well, hey Michael, maybe you should put your hair different. You know what I mean? That's the Internet of Things. And I give you another example. Who of you knows Rolls Royce? I haven't seen Rolls Royces yet. But when they also do engines. You know engines? Plane engines? They make big engines, so if you've ever seen an A380 or whatever, you know how big the engine is. I mean, I was at the factories a year ago. They're huge. I worked a lot with Emirates in my previous job. They have huge A380s, and I once went to the Emirates, where they check the planes and maintain the planes. The engines are huge. If you stand in front of them, you turn them, they just stop you through. They never see you again. Anyway, Rolls-Royce is in the engine business. So what Rolls-Royce traditionally did, They said, hey, Emirates, so I didn't know that. If you buy a plane, you buy a plane, and then you have the options to buy different engines from different suppliers. So Boeing makes Airbus makes the A380, but it kind of delivers it without an engine. It's like you buy a car and you can pick an engine. So give me a 5-liter Porsche or give me a 2-liter Skoda or whatever. Anyway, and they sold engines. Nice, great. So Emirates took engines. But then Emirates need to maintain the engine, needs to service the engine. Emirates need to kind of make sure that they, or any airline of course, they need to make sure they have spare parts all over the world, because those planes don't fly from A to B to C. You know that the plane on average is only 1 hour and 43 minutes on the ground. 43 minutes on the ground. So getting all you out, getting the new passengers in, cleaning it, fueling it, getting the luggage in and out. If an Emirates plane, and probably other airports as well, if it's delayed with half an hour, it costs the airline $35,000. So it's a pretty expensive hobby to have to maintain your plane on the ground. So Emirates want to fly. And in the old world, they would go to Rolls-Royce and say, okay, give me an engine, give me some training engineers, spare parts, blah, blah. Rolls-Royce said, why don't we change the business model? And we're not selling Emirates engines anymore, we're selling Emirates engine hours. Hours. Production hours of an engine running. If the engine stops, Emirates doesn't pay. And that's what they're doing now, and they're very successful with it. So what they did, they said, okay, that's a change of our business model, that's a pretty risky hobby, because basically they are responsible for maintenance, keeping the engine alive, keeping it working, spare parts, all that stuff. So we worked with them the last years to help them with the Internet of Things. So basically what they have thousands of sensors in a plane, all the time. The planes are completely controlled by computers. You know that a pilot doesn't fly anymore these days. You know that? If you take off, they don't do anything. In A380, the pilot sits. And the planes are being controlled by the Emirates Control Center in Dubai in the desert. You should look it up.
There was an accident when a pilot crashed.
Yeah, well, they fly sometimes to test and to keep up to date, and then they crash. No, it's true. I'm not joking. I didn't know that either. I went to the Emirates Control Center. They fly all the A380s there, on the ground. And they don't fly, they say go from there to there, avoid turbulence, avoid this. The pilots are there in case something goes wrong. That's why they're there. Sometimes, if you have a bumpy landing in a plane, it's the pilot. If you have a soft landing, it's the computer. That's true. Anyway, so what Rolls-Royce did, we worked with Rolls-Royce, said, okay, fine. We need to minimize the risk of Rolls-Royce and engines going wrong, engines going faulty, we make sure there's repairs and all that stuff. So what we did, and I'm going to try to show it live. This is not a live system, so don't think I'm going to ground the plane now or something. Let me see if it works. Okay, so I need to get this one into your screen, I guess. So I'm not sure if it's going to work, but yes it does. Okay, so this is going to the Rolls-Royce website. So I don't see anything, so... Is that me? Yeah. I'm not going to give you my password. That's me as well. And then I go. I'm not sure if the internet is fast enough. Yes, it is. Okay, so what we built, and I should... Sorry for it. Hello. Sorry for standing with my back to you, but these are kind of the planes flying in the air. So you can see there's 21 planes above the US, there's 62 over here. And you can click on a plane. So let me take the red one. That's not funny, this one doesn't have any issues. So they continuously monitor the planes, and the green ones are okay. The red ones, there's something wrong with the plane. And they have this, and this is real time, they're using this today as we speak, in their control center at Rolls-Royce. So you can see it's, this is for plane, it's a plane, it flies, great. You can see where they are, so they're actually on the ground somewhere apparently. And then you can see what's going on, you see status, and then you see kind of what's going on in the plane. So the plane gives real-time data to Rolls-Royce headquarters. So the air conditioning works, that's good news for the passengers. But then there's something wrong with, I don't know, with the primary door seal, so the door doesn't close well. Fine. That works. It's the wrong one. Let me get to something, propulsion system. So that's kind of, it shows you kind of data, it looks a little bit weird, I'm not sure why. You can see when it was serviced the last time, you can click on the last service dates, they can do something. I see there's a warning here. There's an issue with the fuel pump. So what's the issue with the fuel pump? So they see all kinds of data, I don't have a clue what it is, but it looks very interesting to me. And they can see what's happening, and then they say, okay, fine, there's something wrong with this fuel pump. We need to change it. There's something wrong with it. They see the flights of the plane, they see where it's going. You can say, okay, request maintenance for this fuel pump. So what they can do, They can say, okay, fine, this is going to happen with the fuel pump, this is what it's supposed to do, this is where it goes wrong, this is what's wrong, it needs to be replaced. Then it says, what's the location? At Frankfurt, they're in Frankfurt now, okay, fine. The parts of the next location in low inventory is the maintenance crew there, yes. What is the time to the next departure? It takes them 3-4 hours, 40 minutes. What's the time to complete the task? Hey, we can do it, okay, fine. Let's go and do it. And this way they can kind of say, okay, fine, let's create a service task. So now it's notifying the aircrew, getting the inventory, updating the maintenance schedule of people, updating the flight systems. Well, you get the picture. And this is what we do real time with them. I can tell you, this is a big thing for them. And I mean, if you have a little bit of imagination, which you probably still have, wait until you finish with your study, then it's done. But till then, you can imagine what this means for a company. They're changing the business models, like Airbnb did with taxis, or with hotels, like Uber did with taxis. They're changing the engine business. Their competitors are freaking out. Because for Emirates, they only care when the thing is flies, the thing is turning. They don't want to pay when it's off. So they buy 50,000 hours of engines. Engine hours. That's it. The rest they don't care. No maintenance, no people, no support. Kitchens. How many of you have a kitchen? This is one that resonates well with you. You come home tonight, hungry, starving. I don't know if there's food after this, but anyway. And then you have a refrigerator that has something in there. So you come home with this one steak, 2 potatoes, 1 banana, and some orange juice, whatever. And you think, so what the hell do I do with this? What can I make with this? I'll probably go to McDonald's and get a burger. What you can do, we're working with LG today. We have intelligent refrigerators who will recognize what's in the refrigerator. Say, hey, it's a steak, it's a banana, half a liter of orange juice. You know what? There's a recipe for steak with bananas and orange juice. It's amazing. So the refrigerator will tell you, hey Michael, welcome. With your inventory, you can make this. You want to make it? It shows you the recipe. The other way around as well, you can say, look, I always want to have 6 Coronas in my refrigerator. In case my friends come. If you only have 2, the refrigerator will order 4 Coronas. Or 6 Coronas automatically at the local grocer. So you don't have to go anymore and think. And we're doing those things. I had a meeting with Fozzy today. You know Fozzy? And I had a meeting about this. Exactly this with the Chief Information Officer and Chief Marketing Officer. To connect your refrigerators with their supermarkets. And going one step further, that you don't wake up in the morning and think, okay, what are we going to eat tonight? Okay, spaghetti. Let me get spaghetti, sauce, tomatoes, whatever, and go to the supermarket and buy. No, you want to go into a model where you can kind of say at home, look, I want spaghetti for 4 persons on Thursday, I want steak with French fries on Friday. And what they will do then, they will make it for you, have it ready for you. You just pick it up. And that's changing the business model. I mean, you probably think this guy smoked something this morning, I didn't. I lived in Amsterdam, but I didn't smoke something today. Anyway, so you know what I mean? Does it make sense? Let me give you another example of big data. I mean, many companies have so much data, even Microsoft, that we have so much data, and we don't use it the right way. We have, I mean, our sellers go to customers saying, you want to buy Office 365? Well, the customer has a big issue with these exchange servers that don't work. We're not using our own data. The university is not using your data, for sure. And there's so much, but if you don't use the data, you're kind of blind and deaf in the middle of the highway. And many companies don't use the data. Let me give you an example of HSBC. It's a bank, it's my bank. It's a year and a half ago or something. So I walked into HSBC, and then I had this nice pop-up saying, hey, Michael, are you going to get married shortly? I go, okay, fine. Well, they know what my wife spends with the credit card, so they kind of assume they could know that I'm married. It's a little bit stupid, so I clicked it away, so this is a stupid bank, whatever. And then in the plane, 2 hours later, I thought maybe they're actually right. So maybe they're using big data to analyze my travels, know that I'm never at home. And the likelihood is pretty high that I'm going to get a divorce. So they're already activating, looking forward to my divorce. You know what I mean? Now the question is, another one. Call center. You know what call centers do? Maybe some of you work in call centers. Anybody works in a call center? So what do they measure you on? The amount of calls? If you sell something, the amount of revenue you make, as much as possible. Yeah, so you get a list called this customer sells 10 bananas. Okay, so another customer sells 10 bananas. The more bananas they sell, the more happy they are. So we have a customer in the Netherlands. And we work with them. They have a big call center. They do outbound telesales, so they sell stuff. And they were They were using their data because they have a CRM system. They get the calls automated. You get a screen. So this lady is sitting there. She has this screen. The screen says, "Call Michael. He has this. Try to sell this to him, and this is the story you need to bring." The more they call, the more calls they make, the more they sell. They think, etc. So they started looking at analysis of their CRM system, big data, a lot of data in there, and they combined it. They have this system. If you log out for coffee, you have to log out because the things will stop giving you calls. And if you go to the restroom, you have to use a key card to go to the restroom. So they know where the people are and when they don't work and when they work. They started looking at the correlation between the amount of calls, the satisfaction of the customers, the sales volumes those people did, and the amount of coffee breaks they had. And the funny thing is, people with the longest coffee breaks were the best sellers. So the longest coffee break, the best seller. And then they started wondering how does that work? What they found out that people with the coffee breaks, they talk to each other. And they learn from each other. Guys sitting behind this desk all day making as many as possible phone calls don't sell. They share experience. So that's big data as well. And what I'm trying to say is not always rocket science what you do. It's very simple stuff as well. You still with me? Yeah. Almost there. But there's one thing, I mean, and that's why I tell customers, you don't know where you're going and you will take you there. I love this saying. All those things I just talked about, you need to have a vision where you want to be, what you want to do. And I mean, I think it's your job to vision what's coming. It's my job to help our customers vision where we're coming. And I mean, everywhere I go, I say people, the possibilities of the new technologies, the things we do are endless. Eh? Totally endless. You can't do anything. I see someone who's thinking about applications of HoloLens. I can tell you, I put 10 ideas a day. Sometimes I think I'll just resign and start my own company. I mean, your Pokemon is big here as well, I guess. You're all on the Pokemon world, man. I've got tons of ideas around Pokemon. Anyway, the possibilities are endless. I always say talk to us at good price. And I always tell you to go and do. I mean, it would be amazing if some of you get inspired by me, which is probably not the case, but anyway, and start a company, think about things. I mean, you have my email address. Ping me, ask these questions. So with that, I'm not going to talk too much more. I'm a little bit over time already, I think. Thank you. I hope it was useful. Hope it was going to stay until 6:45. I'll share my slides. You have my email if you have questions, whatever. You can tweet about me, do whatever you like to do. And I'm open to answer any questions now if you want. Thank you.
Any questions?
Sorry? I don't get the question, sorry.
Do you work at this country?
Do you work here in this and Microsoft?
I mean, two sides. I mean, in the previous jobs I was in the strategy team for Microsoft, so we kind of defined. So we know Windows Phone. Who can have a Windows Phone? Execution, you were the whole picture. I mean, I was responsible for Phone 7 strategy. You can say, yeah, you miserably failed. Yeah, maybe I did, but anyway. So I worked with development teams, giving them feedback, testing things. I mean, we have an opportunity to go to Redmond. We have, I think, 38,000 developers there. It's a very interesting city almost. We have the largest underground parking garage of the US there. When you get lost there, you can have parking there as well. And we also, in my current job, I mean, we do many things with our customers, developing things, developing applications, mobile applications, banking applications. I worked a long time in the NATO. So, I mean, the guys in the back, I mean, we have tanks equipped with SharePoint. So they drive around in Afghanistan with SharePoint. And SharePoint powering with all the maps and all the information, real-time command information, all that stuff. So we do a lot of interesting things. Microsoft is a great company. I mean, we don't maybe not hip and cool and sexy, but it's a great place to be.
What is the best Microsoft product in your opinion? I mean, what is the best, like fastest growing one? What's your favorite?
There's many of them, I think. No, I mean, I want to guess what's there for the other products. They will try to make question everything if I tell them a certain product. You know OneNote? OneNote? So if you don't know OneNote, get OneNote, my friends. That's the, no, I'm not kidding. That's the application you should have in university. Really. Get OneNote. OneNote.
Yes.
Get it. OneNote. You can download it for free actually on the internet, or go to your dean and ask him for your free Office 365. OneNote is my app. That's where I live. Every customer I see, I make my notes in OneNote. I use a tablet with a pen. I share my notes with my team. You can set up shared OneNote, so it's very handy if you're in this room. You can make a deal. There's more than 365 of you for 200 days of college. So every day of college, one of you makes notes and shares them with everybody. The rest of the group can sleep. I mean, but OneNote is probably my favorite. That Wunderlist is another one. You know Wunderlist? Who of you know Wunderlist? We bought them, but it's amazing. There's many. I mean, Word, Excel, Outlook, I don't care. Xbox, I love Xbox. I play soccer with my son every day when I'm at home. We're playing the Spanish league at the moment. He's a Real Madrid fan. It's kind of funny. Anyway. Yes?
What is the hardest thing for you in your job?
The hardest thing? No, I don't have any hardest thing. I mean, I love my job. I hate being internal. That's probably the thing I don't like. But I mean, I have a crazy job. I travel a lot. I travel 2 weeks in a row, 2 weeks home normally. I see a lot of people. But I get my energy out of this. You, all of you, my customers, my partners, speaking to the press. I'm going to Sarajevo tomorrow morning, opening an office. Tomorrow I'm on CNN tomorrow evening, so you can watch me. But I get energy of this. And the hardest thing in my job is being in the office, being in an internal business review. I hate that. We review too much of mine. You know something about it. It's kind of crazy. I always tell people, look, if you weigh a pig, you know a little pig, the animal, you weigh it, and you weigh it again, and you weigh it again, and you weigh it again. The pig's not going to get bigger or smaller, it's the same weight. And in Microsoft we have the tendency to over-engineer our numbers. I never been in a company in my life who knows so much about their customers. We don't use the data well enough. We're starting to use it ourselves, like big data. We're starting to predict what the next product is our customers will buy, based on other customers. So if one bank buys this, we start to predict that this bank might buy this as well, because it's in the same branch, same company, whatever, same country. Sometimes the travel is not fun. Especially when you go to weird countries like Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan and everything. You end up in the middle of nowhere with nobody around you. But normally I have a lot of fun. If I to be fair, my friend Steve Jobs said that once, and I used to slide a lot actually. The day I don't have fun in my job, I'm going to resign and do something else. I did it a few times in my life. I wake up before my alarm clock normally, because I'm excited and I want to do stuff. And if I don't have it, I had a party the evening before, that's okay. But if I have it for a few days, there's something wrong and I need to know what's wrong. And then if I don't like my job, I go. Don't stay in the job, that's just some drink, that's the new advice. Don't stay in the job you don't like. It's going to kill you completely. Yes? Yeah. I'll do those photos for you. No, I mean, I'm not saying this is the future. I think it's one of the things coming fast. I mean, if you would have asked, I don't know, 50 years ago somebody needed a mobile phone, or we need the internet, people would say, why would I need the internet? I mean, you know, the guy at IBM once said that we think the world is big enough for 3 computers. There's a market for 3 computers on the planet. IBM said that years ago. There's a little bit more. I don't know. I mean, if I wish what was the next thing, I wouldn't be here. I would be starting my own company, doing something with it. But I think things are changing. What I tried to say in the beginning is that there's this physical world, stuff you can touch, which is blending with the virtual world very fast. And I think that's going to be a big thing. I mean, I had a whole discussion. I was at another presentation a few weeks ago. I was in a panel about new technologies and stuff. And I had a discussion with a guy who was talking about self-driving cars. So the self-driving cars. And I told him, I never asked for a self-driving car. I like to drive. So why do you try to sell me a self-driving car? I don't want a tracking device, I want to drive myself. But then the interesting things come up. What happens when you have drivers and self-drivers? You know that the California Highway Police, they stopped the Google self-driving car a few weeks ago because the car was driving too slow on the highway. So there's this motorcycle guy who goes in front of the car stops. But there's nobody in the car. It's a self-driving car. So what do you do as a police officer? You stand there and, yeah, so we call Google. He said, "Look, what the hell are you doing?" Yeah, sorry, there's something wrong. Anyway, there's all new kind of stuff happening, which nobody ever thought of before. Which I think is your future. That's sometimes I wish I could sit there and any other? A lot of them. You have to speak up loud and deaf. I'm old. Oh, what's the question? So we have Windows 10? License? I don't think it's my fault. Yeah, licenses. Why do you have to pay? Is that the question? I want a salary, that's why you have to pay. Yeah. And so we know who you are, and you still use data. You're talking about data, privacy. Yeah, okay, so that's a very good question. Every customer I get into, they talk about privacy. And then there's this Wild West cowboy stories about that Microsoft, the US government goes into every mail account in Ukraine, because it's in the cloud in Microsoft. That's not true. I mean, that's just fables. But personal, I mean, probably there's going to have law or whatever in this university as part of your subjects. There's probably going to be a big thing in your law lessons, the data privacy issue. Because, I mean, I always tell people, I mean, I think you guys and girls are much more open to share your data with people on the internet than people 25 years older than you. You are much more easy in your privacy. I always tell people, look, 20, 25, 50, 100 years ago, you would get paid. You would put your money in a sock or a box underneath your bed because there were no banks. Right? 150 years, 200 years ago, whatever. And then there was this guy who said, hey, I become a bank. You give me your money, I give you a plastic card, I put machines in the world, you can use your money to use your card to get money out of the machine. Simple. People trust banks. They do. I guess you all have a bank account, I hope. You trust the bank. It's not always a good example, but you trust the bank. So we have a bank of data. We are supervised by the government. We are adhering to the highest standards. I mean, even the NATO puts their data in our data centers, which says it all to me. And yes, we are an American company, and the government in America tries to force us with court orders to open your data to them. But if you read the news well, and you go and look what's happening, we say no to 99.999% of those court orders. We get hundreds of them every day. We do 1 or 2 per year because it's terrorism. For the rest, we say no, Mr. Government, go and fix your own issues. We actually won 2 times in the high courts in the US an appeal against the US government, and we won because the US government wanted to go into Ireland, into our data center, and get data from a German company. And we said no, it's not your jurisdiction, because at the same time, I mean, if you translate, I mean, in those discussions, it's always very easy for me to translate something to the real world. So in the real world, the US government cannot go to Ireland, go into a company building and say, we're the US government, can we please have your data? No. So why would that be the case in the online world? It's the same stuff, just in a different jacket. And the world is changing fast. The laws are not changing fast enough. I remember being in Belgium, where we started doing Skype in Belgium. I was the country manager. I was called to the Ministry of Telecommunications. He said, yeah, you are a telco now, Microsoft. And telcos have different accounting rules and reporting rules. I said, we're not a telco, we are a software company or a cloud service provider. No, according to the law from 1953, you are a telco. I said, yeah, but it's 2006 now, my friend. Maybe you should change the law. Yeah, no. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff happening. It's a very interesting topic, and we have people in Microsoft who speak for days about data and privacy and stuff. But it's also, to me, it's about demystifying what it actually is. Because to be fair, I mean, I was in the UAE talking to the UAE government about data security and privacy and middle, and they said, we cannot put our data in the cloud because it's too risky, blah, 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 blah. Fine, you stay on premise. I don't care, you keep it in your own shop. And then I get a mail with confidential information from a Gmail account from that guy. He was using his Gmail account. So I called him. So Gmail is not in the cloud. Yeah, you're right. But you don't think. Anyway. Anna? Yes? Females as well, sorry. If you can tell me what we can do, I'll talk to you, because I don't know what I can do. Yeah, well, Windows 10 is a good example. Windows 10 you can't copy anymore. Maybe someone could just stop how you can copy, but we will stop it. We know who you are, we know where to find you. Windows 10 sends things over the internet, who you are. So let me ask the question first. So, I mean, this is actually a funny country. There's nobody from the government in the room, is there? No, I'm just kidding. I had a deep dive with my team on Monday on the country and stuff, and you guys seem to pay for software. Maybe not those 50 or 150 people, but apparently people who are consumers seem to pay for software, which I find very interesting, because normally it's alright. You guys not paying for software, the government, which is normally not the case. So, but I mean, yeah, piracy is high. It's 86% or something between. It's kind of the same rate as Nigeria. So we're kind of the same as Nigeria for me. But, I mean, what can we do? I mean, we try to, I'm against raiding consumers. We do mystery shopping. So we go to computer stores where we know they sell illegal software. We go in there, we close the store with the police. But you don't want us, I don't want to raid your apartment. There are illegal software. I don't care. And the one, I mean, Steve Ballmer once said, our previous CEO said, he said, look guys, he said, I'd rather have you use it for free than using a competitive product. In the hope that you like my product so much that by the time you have enough money to buy the product, you will say, yeah, Microsoft after 20 years studying, I will pay my first office. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And also getting cheaper. I mean, but to be fair, you should speak to the school, to the university. You can take this follow-up actually, because you are entitled to use our stuff for free. Free. Zero. Legal for free. That's amazing. And why? Why do we do that? Because you're the future of the business, and we're not stupid. I mean, we hope to keep using our stuff over time. But I mean, in government or in I don't know, in commercial companies we can go to with the government. So we do raids. I was in Azerbaijan last year where we raided Sotar, the state-owned company of Azerbaijan Republic. We went in there with the police and we took the computers. Because we warned them 5 times, they didn't listen, they didn't want to pay, they were using our software for 4,500 people to run the business. And I said, enough is enough. So we went to court, we got a court order, we went in and we took all the PCs. The whole company was gone. And then they paid, I can tell you. The same afternoon they paid us. But you can't raid the government. Who do I go to with the government? With the army? I don't know. So I mean, it's more about, I don't know. I also thought people, it's a little bit weird. I had a discussion with the electricity guys today. The CEO. He's not paying us at the moment. And he said, look, there's a war going on. And my factories are in the Crimea zone or whatever. And I said, okay, fine, I get that. But I said, look, if I don't pay your electricity bill, you cut me off, don't you? And the sad thing is I can't cut you off. But if I would, I would. If I could, I would. But anyway, I think people should pay for it. We spend money on this. I'm here, I'm not for free. You have to pay me somehow to do the presentation. Yes?
One day, humanity may understand that the virtual world is more interesting than the real one, and it would be a great disaster for humanity. Is there strategy in the company where the technology is to provide the massive stuff?
Sorry guys, you can do it. I didn't tell the virtual world and the real world. I don't think the virtual world is more important than the real world.
On the video we saw some glasses which show the world around us in our flat. And one day humanity may understand that they don't have to go out of their flat in order to travel or do something. They will have an opportunity to do it.
First of all, I think the format of those things should change. You mentioned Google Glasses, I tried them as well. I mean, yeah, it's nice. You have this weird thing hanging in front of you all the time. If you wear a HoloLens, you have this weird thing on your head. I mean, I think they will change. I think they will go into a compact lens format or something.
The question is where the technology must stop in order to this not become like a real world.
Maybe it's me, but I don't get it. I'm tired, sorry, that I said it wrong. The little light will be on. Yeah. You can have a virtual girlfriend. Oh boy. I mean, I don't know if I will tell. I agree, it's very tempting to sit in your room, have a virtual beer with your virtual friends. And virtual friends will only be nice to you. And you can work, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to bring us. I mean, I had a discussion half a year ago at a seminar, a big congress with Facebook people. And they are doing algorithms, which is kind of scary, where you can start to look at good news messages only. If you start applying that to the news, so you can say, look, I'm only interested in good news about kittens. And I'm only interested in good news about kittens my friends also see. You start to narrow your world in a crazy way. So, I mean, either in 20 years we're all sitting in our rooms and we don't leave our houses anymore. But I don't think so. I think it will bring new opportunities. I mean, the HoloLens video shows you going to the moon. I mean, can you imagine that there's a whole classroom? So my son is in Egypt now. Not in Egypt, but Egypt is the team at school, so it's Egypt, mummies and all that stuff. Can you imagine that the whole class instead of this warrior Jesus standing there talking about Ramses II and Tutankhamun and whatever, and showing stupid pictures, they can go all together, travel in time, go to ancient Egypt. Not real traveling time, but kind of HoloLens, you can kind of say, hey, so this is a tomb. Oh wow, amazing. You know what I mean? Going to the moon together. Travel will be completely different. Eh? Think about it. Eh? Now you book a holiday. And I make it funny, but I never saw a room looking like a room in real life as the picture in the travel guide. You know, you get this room you want. You get into the room that's interesting, it's only 1 square meter. On the picture it's 225. And for example, travel, you can go in there and say, hey, I will go to the hotel virtually, walk around in the hotel and pick my room. Or pick the beach, or check out the room before I go there. Check out the location before I go there. We're working with BMW at the moment in Germany. I was there a few months ago. And what we're doing, we're building a virtual showroom for BMW using HoloLens. So you buy a car, you're going to buy a BMW 3 Series. Now you go to the dealer, you have this leaflet and a little bit of computer screen there advanced. You can pick a color, and they show you this thing. Now you can kind of design your car yourself on the spot. So you see your car in front of you. You say, okay, now it's blue, blue, blue. And then you say, I want big tires, small tires, no tires, I want brown seats, I want a radio. You actually sit in your car virtually. See how it's going to look. That, I mean, if you start thinking about that, I mean, the opportunities are kind of limited. I'm talking to Korean in Slovenia, which is a kitchen manufacturer. And they're looking at kind of designing kitchens virtually with customers. So you know in their eyes, I mean, wait until you buy a kitchen. You laugh when you watch a kitchen, but if the moment you buy a house with a kitchen, I can tell you, the moment you have a kitchen in your house, you have to prepare. I think the water should have been here. Or it should have been a beer tap here. Or whatever. And if you start designing it virtually, I think it's just the beginning. Virtual classrooms. I mean, I had a discussion with the Minister of Education today on that. We have remote areas in Ukraine where there's no internet. We can get them internet. They can do virtual classroom sessions with teachers over here. You can stay at home and watch my lecture. So I don't know how long you want to go on. If you guys can go to 10, I don't know. Yeah? The last 25 questions. Everything. we have a program which is called MAP. I'm not sure what it stands for. I think it's Microsoft Academy, or it's hiding, whatever. I don't know. In Microsoft we have many acronyms. I don't know what acronyms are. I know what programs, I know what we do. We hire, in my area, I think we hired 27 this year. You know, so we hire people straight from university. We have an MBA, we hire you. And I don't care if you're a rocket scientist or a biologist, I'd rather hire non-IT people. Because the code doesn't have to be my shop, it has to be developed. So, and I hire business people, and I'm looking for a new business manager. If anybody's great way to do it in the end, you can apply and we hire them, and you go to an accelerated training program, so we do special care training. We kind of start, every month we have a week of training. We coach you, you get a job, you have to work, there's no kind of you come to get a job, a real job, with a coach, you have to start working. And after a year, you go to another job. I said farewell to my business manager today, who's going to another role, and I have a new one. So, and that way you kind of work different roles in the company very fast. And then after 2 years you kind of decide, okay, fine, this is my job, I want to stay a little bit longer. We are very active in that. Anybody can apply. Of course, there's many people applying, so we take the better ones. But I always tell people in Microsoft, if you can read and write and you're smart, you can do any job. There was somebody waiting very hard there. Yeah, you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why Microsoft don't ban unlegal Windows?
Why don't we pay what?
Why Microsoft don't ban unlegal Windows? Laws. Why Microsoft don't block unlegal Windows?
I'm not maybe you guys support it, but I don't get this. Yeah, good question. So, Windows 10 uses amongst the illegal ones. If you upgrade to the anniversary edition, you're fine. So don't upgrade. No, yeah. It goes back to, it goes back to the story. You want to be the bad guy or not? It's what I said about Steve Ballmer. He said, look, he once got the question. He said, I'd rather have people using our software illegally, at least using it, because they wouldn't pay for it anyway. They're not using it. You know what I mean? But we can stop it. We have products. We have a product called Microsoft Licensing Server, which is for companies. We stop the product. But that product can kind of block and stop applications which were not paid for. What I love about the cloud, in the cloud I can stop you. The moment you stop paying, just turn off your button and you're gone, and you will play again personally. But I don't know. I think we still make enough money, I guess. But I want to have all the world on the legal Windows 10 and nobody on the Windows 10, you know what I mean? And I agree we need to kind of take prices. When you get the academic pricing, guys, you can do Windows 10 for a few euros, easily. So you should make a note of that. I send my education people. Yeah. Oh, you had a question already. Somebody else. What do I speak up loud and fast and loud.
As a programmer, what do you need to happen and learn to develop for HoloLens?
As a programmer, what do you need to learn to develop HoloLens?
Yeah, what do I need?
Yeah. So there's a whole SDK, you know SDKs? Software development kits around HoloLens. So you can buy them online now, they're not cheap. What we do when we launch a new product like this, we first get out a version for the developers because we want the ecosystem to build applications for it, otherwise nobody will buy it. So if you buy a HoloLens developer edition, I think they're, I don't know, $1,000 or something, I don't know. Anyway, you get a kit, you get the software, you get the whole programming environment for it to start using it. I'm not a coder, but apparently it's pretty easy. I've got friends in the office, they bought HoloLens and they're making their own games. So I promised the office to get a HoloLens to the office, so we should maybe come back one time with a HoloLens and show it to you guys, you can play with it. So I think you guys want to go. 2 more questions, 3 more questions, 4 more questions. So we do 1 more question. Okay, fine. Can you speak loud enough?
What are you going to do with this
Surface Book. I have one in my bag, if you want it. What do you want to do with Surface Book? Stop it, or sell it, or bring it to brain. Yeah, so you know Surface Book, that's pretty cool hardware, it's pretty expensive as well, I think, whatever. So, when the moment we announced Surface years ago, I remember I was in Milan. 20 minutes after we announced Surface, I had the general manager of HP, Mia, on the phone, shouting at me. Because Microsoft started making PCs. And he said, what the hell are you doing? We're supposed to be your partner. You make Windows, we make PCs, we sell together. Now you're making your own PCs, you're going to kill me? No. I told him it's not the case. Why do we make Surface? Why do we make Surface books? And they are very high-end PCs. And the Surface is pretty expensive. Why do we do this? We want to show the world what's possible with our hardware and our software. What you can do with Windows, we kind of creating cool devices. Why did we do that? In the time we were building Windows 8, the software part of Windows 8, we went to our OEM friends, HP, Dell, Asus, whatever, and said, hey, we have Windows 8 coming. It has amazing possibilities. You can design all kinds of new hardware. And they didn't listen, because they were busy selling old PCs. So we said, okay, fine guys, we gave you the chance, we gave you the opportunity. You didn't build something cool. We want to build something cool ourselves and show the world what you can do with Windows. So we did Surface 41, but the next generation is coming the 25th of October. Then we bought out Surface Book, which is kind of a big laptop. It's pretty heavy, but I like it. You can take off the screen, it's both. And what you see happening, and that's the interesting thing, if you go to the IFA website, so last week there was the big consumer electronics fair in Berlin. I was there for a day. People are cloning Surface Book. People are cloning Surface. So HP is suddenly making Surface-like devices. They're making Surface Book-alike devices. So our strategy worked. We showed them what's possible. They say, oh, that's interesting. We want to make this as well. So we keep doing that. But we don't have the intention to become the #1 seller of tablets or PCs. And that's why it's not available in Ukraine. For many other reasons, by the way. It's pretty expensive to bring hardware into a country. I mean, I had a discussion with my consumer products lead yesterday here. We have a 52% market share on Xbox in Ukraine. We don't sell Xbox in Ukraine. It's kind of funny. 52% market share, we don't sell it officially. It's grey market, it comes from Poland, wherever it comes from. And I said, that's interesting. So if we have such a big market share, why don't we go officially and get more? He says, look, to increase 6 or 7% of market share, starting a whole channel of distributors, resellers, training, certification, it's way more expensive. We rather let it go and grow. You can get Surface here for sure. I saw a Surface in a store in the Dreamland Mall, whatever it's called. I always go shopping on Sundays in the country, so Dreamtown. They have a Surface that you can buy them. But I mean, we're not going to be the #1 notebook provider of the world, please. That's not our business. So we have to go. I have to sleep. Thank you very much. I hope it was useful. With emails, but if you have a question or you want to know something or whatever, let me know. Thank you very much and have a great evening.